Good evening, everyone. And just like that, we are officially under our first severe warning of my coverage area this year. And so, what we've got right now is we've got, if you'll notice, right here in extreme southern Franklin County, southwestern parts of Franklin County. And that's going to include places like Huntland, Beans Creek, Keeks Freaks Mountain, like you're headed toward down here toward the weather radar site right there in High Top. But really, just almost right along just south of the 64 Highway 64 corridor is what we've got. And so, really and truthfully, today we weren't really under much of a risk, but we've got this mean looking storm that is producing some really, really big hail. So, if you look specifically, in this part of all the purples and the blues and the really light blues, that is very heavy DBZ returns on reflectivity. And so let me go ahead and just kind of read you from the warning here, what's going on. And so we're looking at quarter size hail and max speeds of 60 miles an hour. And this is in effect until 8:45 this evening. And so it's a slow mover. It's not really right now, it's not officially in Tennessee at all. But given the possible track of it, it very well could be headed that way. So what we're gonna do is gonna try to do some new stuff. So I see some of you guys coming online and going, "Uh oh, he's live." Well, just a heads up for my Facebook people. None of this is even in the Tullahoma area right now. None of it is. And actually, based off what we're looking at here with this front, there we go. They just went ahead and issued, and I'm sure my No Weather Radio will be going off behind me in just a minute. So we're going to be talking about my Lynchburg people as well. So if you see this line right here that I'm kind of squiggling, it's almost like I can't talk over this thing, and that's why you should always have a no weather radio, okay? So, the long story short, that blue line that I have kind of squiggled, that is the front that is giving storms the convergence that they need to get some lift. It's almost like the trigger that you need for some storms. And so today, really, our only threat has been hail. And so we've got another cell back out here. It's not even in, I don't even believe this is an officially in, no, it's not even in Lincoln County yet. But once it crosses that Lincoln County line, it seems like it's going to be making that northeast track. And that could be just because of this front and the way that it's moving as well. So I'm going to go ahead while the Noah guy back here is talking and kind of look at a couple of things so we can get a storm track on this one. So let's see here. Where's it at? I got to read it. All right. Moving east at 25 miles an hour. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and kind of put a track on this and kind of see what parts of Franklin County it would graze. And then we'll come back over here to this one and kind of put a storm track on wet as well. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and draw that storm track out. That's east. And I need to put the storm speed at 25. So you get to see all this happen in real time, which I do love about Radar Omega, that I'm able to kind of see what's going on here. So are y'all going to list it for me? So really and truthfully, there we go. We can kind of zoom in here and kind of see something. So this would be like Coptown. We're getting really up into parts of the mountain. So based off that track, it may just graze very extreme southern parts of Franklin County, and this is going all the way to Jericho. So if y'all know where the Jericho is on the other side of 79, as you're going back toward Key Springs, that would be that general area back in there. I had a opportunity to go see. So, like I said, this would be really extreme. And I have some viewers down here. My buddy from Tornado Shelters is down in this area too. So, definitely just want to give y'all a heads up on that. So, based off, I really can't say that the storm here is meaner than the storm there just because this radar is having to go through that storm to see the second one. And so, with that being said, it could be in a situation where it may be just as strong. You just like I said, it's kind of getting muddied up a little bit because of this. So, just issued here is going to be parts of our viewing area, right in the Moore County area. So, um, let me go and kind of do another storm track again on this cell over here. So let me read a little bit about it because I want to see exactly how fast it's traveling. They're saying it's traveling, moving east at 30 miles an hour. All right. So we want to go ahead and close that off and put right here in that worst part of that storm. So they're taking it. It could be more of a northeast. I think they're just going with that air here. And so just to kind of give you an idea of when, okay, since it just did a new scan, let's do that. Let's get rid of that. Let's do another scan. Sound like Bob Ross over here talking to y'all. Happy little accidents. All right. So, and I think that was moving. Oh gosh, what was the speed, Christopher? I lost my train of thought. It's moving at 30. So I need to change the parameters here to 30. Too bad it won't do it automatically. Maybe that'll be an update that Radar Omega will have. All right, so that's kind of the updated time. It looks like, if you're looking at the parts of Lynchburg or in Moore County, let's say that our viewing area would be right around 9 o'clock ish or so. And so I do want to see when is this severe thunderstorm warning. It goes off at 9. So it looks to be by the speeds, these storms could be right in this area right at the time that warning is going to cancel. So we'll be on here for a little bit just to kind of see what's going on. Just simply because, right here with these storms being on the actual front itself, firing up a little bit. And they're not necessarily close together. So as far as the energy from the Newmarket storm here in northern Alabama taking anything away from this one wouldn't be. So let's go ahead real quick. Back down to this one. We'll just take a storm at a time here. Turn that off, and I'm going to switch over to base velocity or high res so we can see. Okay, so there is just so we know, there is some broad kind of rotation coming in from that storm right there. It's not anything that's going to signal a tornado tag or anything like that, because if I click on it, they don't have a tornado tag on it. But there is definitely some stronger gust of wind right there in that particular storm. And so what I'll do is I'll turn that. Let's see if it'll give me anything. Just really 30, 40 mile an hour winds right there in that gust. There's a really big gust right there on this other side, the really bright stuff. But nothing that's screaming anything super windy. The main stuff, it does say winds of 60, so it may gust up to 60, and we missed that on radar. But the main concern is hail. And so especially when you go back and you look at the reflectivity, you can definitely see that for sure. So I'm going to go over here to this storm that's kind of got the warning on it as it's get ready to cross over 65, I-65. And turn this one into velocity, see what we got going on here. Okay, so just so you guys know, I'm not saying anything to worry about right this second. It's not anywhere near us. But I do see some kind of tighter right in that particular area. Let me do something real quick here. Where is it at? There it is. Kind of messy right there. It's hard to tell. But anyways, something to kind of look at. That was interesting because that's on the north part of the storm. It's kind of interesting. It does have this little appendage back here where you've got the updraft feeding into this sail. That's where all that warm air is feeding in, because it was 52 degrees, but it was kind of a juicy 52 outside. And so really and truthfully, we did not have any kind of severe weather risk really today. That was going to be down here around the 72 corridor with some hail. But, things happen, man. I was in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff, and my NOAA radio goes off because that's a good first line of defense. I'm like, oh, man, we got one going. We got to get online and let people know what's going on. So really, these two storms more in an observation mode right now, guys. If I'm being honest, there's no direct threat to any of our viewing area right now. And so if you have any questions, hey, definitely, I'm here. Just going to kind of be watching some stuff. I don't necessarily think I need to talk 24/7. I've done enough of that today being a teacher. But just kind of looking at these two, they're very similar looking storms. But if we just zoom out and see the big picture, you can see these two storms that's kind of fed through here. And it looks like we've had some inch hail reported from this storm over here. So this was as it was, this storm specifically right here as it was coming through um, parts of North Alabama here. So again, I'm going to zoom out and you can see this little stationary part of it's little stationary fronts. Part of it is, but you got a cooler part right here, that low pressure, and that's where you're seeing you're going to notice something. Okay, a little weather 101, guys. Something you're going to notice is that the storms that are the most severe are living right around the surface front. Okay, because that's what you need to be able to have lift to get storms really severe enough. And so that's why you're noticing right here for us, that's why it's become an issue. They thought maybe it would be just a little bit farther south. Down here, you've got special weather statements all up and down I 65, the Coleman area, all the way down to almost Birmingham, but it's not anything that's super impressive other than probably just some gusty winds. Yeah, 55. Yeah, you got some bigger hail, but not it's close. These storms are really close to the severe limits, but the ones that are popping off the warnings are going to be the ones right close to our area. And so basically what we just kind of keep looking at, I'm gonna turn some of this mess, the noise off, is just kind of keep looking at this section right here and see, hey, is this strengthening or is it kind of looking the same? That's a really good indicator. It looks like this may go just a little bit north of the radar site because the radar site is High Top, Alabama, which is right there. So definitely nice looking storms for sure. Some mean. So it's been a while since I've seen that level of DBC kind of in our area. We don't really talk about hail being the super main threat. Always, it's usually a wind event, right? And so yeah, it's kind of is what it is right here. So um, I'll go ahead back and do another storm track because that looks like it's getting pretty close to the line right there. It is, I mean, it is just floating with it, isn't it? It definitely wants to creep over, but as really what I would think would be based off the kind of path that maybe this particular area, kind of what I was talking about a minute ago. And so I'll do another track on this one to show kind of the capabilities. I know there's a lot of other people that have a lot of other ones, but I really like the storm track um, of what Radar Omega is able to do. And I just need to turn this back over to 25 miles an hour. And the cool thing is, yeah, now they're saying it's half dollar size hail. They've upped that because that originally was just a inch hail, but that's inch and a quarter. That's some pretty heavy. That's some pretty. I'd do some damage. I mean, that's the if anybody was in the Tullahoma area in 2011 in October, where that storm went through the southern side of the city and just pelted everybody with the gargantuan amounts of hail. But yeah, right here is kind of the track where we would be looking here. So more specifically, the good thing is for you Franklin County folks, a lot of that is just the mountains. And so it's not like you're going to have a ton of folks there. Just got Coptown. That would be that's the only thing that the radar is even picking up as far as the town. Usually when I zoom in, I can get a lot more towns. Like if I went this way, see if it'll give anything. It's got a bunch of roads, but it's not giving a bunch of people because, like I said, this is a very mountainous region. Just so you guys know, in general, right here where the radar site is in High Top, that's 1,800 feet above sea level. So, giving a pretty good look at these storms, it's really almost headed V line for this thing, and you're seeing what's called the cone of silence, where the radar, it's so close that it cannot scan anything there. That's why you see that hole. If you've ever wondered, like, why is there just this big hole right here? Well, that's just because it's called the cone of silence. It's so close to the radar cannot pick up the signal there because it has to be high enough, as far as elevation tilt, that it's not clipping the tops of the trees, which I can attest. There are trees all around that thing. I've been there. All right, let me turn this back off. So you can kind of see those areas, any of this area right here. Obviously, if I were looking at where would the like inch and a quarter hail be, would definitely probably V lined at that spot. But you're probably definitely seeing some heavy rain and or hail into any of those spots specifically. Another thing that we can kind of do is run something called Vil data that will see, yeah, that will kind of show you the areas also that would be this area specifically. That was that almost that same area that I circled all the purple and the hot pinks and that really light blue in there. That would be this area right here. Anywhere in that area specifically would be getting hail. But then again, this is not for us. It's getting ready to cross over a little bit, looks like. So I'm going to go back over to reflectivity. And I'm going to go give our other storm a look see. It doesn't look as mean on radar, but then again, you have to understand that radar beam is having to shoot through this storm to see that storm, okay? So you can't always go, well, that storm looks weaker. Yeah, it may on radar, but in reality, it may not be. And we are looking a little bit higher up, just because the farther away you are from the radar site, the little higher the beam is here. Not a lot of lightning with these storms. I noticed there was one little lightning strike that fired off right there, right at the county line between oh, my brain left me for a minute, Giles County, and then over into Lincoln County. So no really rain has entered at all. And so when we're talking about our warned areas, it would just be the western half of Moore County into the extreme south western portions of um, Franklin County. Winchester, you're not included in this. Estill, you're not included. My Tullahoma peeps were not included. So, hey, if you're just hanging out and watching me, I appreciate it. I do want to give you guys while we're kind of sitting here, to kind of give you a couple updates. You guys finally figured it out somehow, some way. Thank you. Finally figured out what was going on with that blasted thing. Now I got it. Thank you guys, because my mic says it's on, but my audio over here turned it off. So what I was going to tell you is the next edition of Chris King, the Weather Guy. You're definitely going to want to watch that. I know all five people watch these things when I do them, but it's just a fun little educational thing. It's me getting to be the teacher. But the Storm Prediction Center is making a big change to how conditional threats. Um, Conditional threats to severe weather. Typically, we're still going to have the marginal slight, and all of that sort of stuff, but we're going to see a big change to the levels of conditional threats. So I'm not going to get into all the details right now. I can tell you at the surface when you first look at it, it's kind of like what. If you know what the 10% severe hatched means when we have tornadoes and it says 10% and it's severely hatched, and I say, hey, that means there could be a strong tornado today. Well, now there's going to be three different levels of that. And so you're definitely going to want to watch next Wednesday when I drop that, because I'm going to go into detail. Because as we get into severe weather season, we're going to be looking at these threats, because a lot of what I talked to you about comes straight from the SPC first. So definitely be on the lookout for that one. That's going to be a very interesting one. You're going to kind of get geeky and nerdy, and I'm going to show you what does it take to get a marginal risk? What does it take to get an enhanced risk or a moderate risk or a high risk? Okay. So let's go right back to the radar. And thank you guys. I finally figured out what the problem was. My audio, I'm just pointing to the screen that's misbehaving over here. So let's go back to the radar, because now we're starting to see part of this. It is tracking just a little bit to the north, as the warning was mentioning. So I don't know how many people I have in extreme southern Franklin County. We are talking the county line, or I mean, excuse me, well, the county line and the state line, right? So when we're looking at the most severe, so if I was looking right here, what was that, Francisco? Well, not San Francisco, I guess. But over here in this general vicinity, like the White Scat Road, and then this looks like Francisco Road. This looks like a pretty interesting thoroughfare, because because it's coming from Huntland down. Is this the way yeah, this may be one of the ways some of you guys go. My Winchester people, when you go to Huntsville, you probably take some of these roads to go this way. Um, and so there you go. It's definitely the problem right there. That this would be the most severe when we talk about the inch and a quarter hail. There it is right there. That would be the bullseye. You're still going to see hail probably in any of these higher DBZ returns, but the bulk majority of what the most severe part of the warning would be right there. That's it. Okay. And so it does look like it really hasn't weakened any. It's kind of maintained this for the past, what, how long have I been on? 20 minutes or so. And so that's a good healthy storm. We probably do have some I don't, well, I actually, matter of fact, I could pull it up here while I'm looking. We probably, and you're gonna see me get dark because there we go. I would say that probably we've got some let's see here, marginal risk. Let's see here. Did they change anything? Yeah, I'll pull down the marginal risk, because you can see what's, ooh, crazy. Don't don't do that again, screen. This is kind of the risk that, and this was updated at 6:30 tonight. And so they put that marginal risk right up to the county line. We were supposed to see some, if I can zoom in here, I think I can. Um, they were supposed, I don't think it is. They were supposed to get us right here in more of a general thunderstorm area, but hey, it's right outside that marginal risk. You just never know sometimes, guys. This is the way it happens. And so I'm going to pull this back up for just a minute, because one of the things I'm going to look at is I'm going to be able to see wind shear on this particular part of the storm. And wind shear is something. So one of the main things that can drive I can't talk, a storm's longevity is just how much wind shear. So basically, how fast is the wind increasing with height, and is it turning directions? Tonight it's not turning directions because we don't have a ton of rotation, okay? But we looks like we definitely have some shear going on. And so what I'm gonna do is you're gonna see it look like I'm breaking my neck to look up here, but I'm gonna look at my other screen just to kind of see what's going on. Bulk shear. Is that bulk shear right there? Uh, Effective bulk shear. Nope. I need surface to 6. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is in, yeah, definitely. I'm looking at looks like, generally speaking, these winds are blowing to the west right now. And so just so you guys know, yeah, absolutely. That sucker's kind of picked up a little bit. This is in an environment that's definitely got some effective wind shear, meaning that these storms won't necessarily just die down immediately. They're blowing so fast. These basically what happens is the updraft and the downdraft get separated. I know I'm getting so geeky nerdy, but I mean, hey, you may want to know this. And basically, it keeps the storm alive. And so we're looking at 50 knots, that effective wind shear. So that's pretty crazy. I'm going to look at the low level jet and see what's going on right here. Low level jet, blah, blah, blah. Nothing real big there. Let's look at the millibars. Yeah, surface wind shear. Let's go back to this. So yeah, it's about 55 knots, um, which is almost it's over 60 at that if at 55 knots we're over 60 miles an hour when it comes to effective wind that's out there. So that's definitely what's keeping this alive. And you can just again kind of see this Huntland. You guys, it just went south of you for sure. My Huntland people, you got a little lucky there. That's good. Guys to the south of State Route 97, again, moving into kind of where the mountainous region is going to begin, but right there, man, that's a ton of hail that's being dropped right there. So anyways, yeah, it's got 50 knots right there. So if you're interested in what I'm looking at, I'll pull it down for just a second. This is what I'm looking at on my other monitor. And so what I'm looking at is just like how fast is that wind blowing from the surface up to about 500 millibars, which is 6 kilometers roughly. And that gives you a good indication of just how strong storms can live. And 50 is pretty effective. And so that's why we're having these long-lived storms. So I'm going to go back over here for just a second and kind of see what's going on here. This one definitely has I would say definitely the one closer over here to High Top looks to be the healthier of the bunch. I'm gonna see here. Let me pull some Ville data on this one to see if it looks any different. Let's see here. Yeah, it's kind of in the same boat. It doesn't have as much. Let's look real quick here. Velocity. Yeah. I mean, you've got that strongest wind in this section right here. It's not anything that's super duper impressive, to be quite honest with you. Let me pull it in the storm relative. So there's some rumblings right there, but nothing that's sticking out going, "Oh gosh, gracious." And again, there's nothing over here in this storm either. I'm just looking to see would there be anything that looks to be rotating, and it doesn't look it right now. Let me look at, let's see here. Cape is modest. It's not a lot. Just to the south is where it's a lot. I'm looking at the Cape to see how much energy these storms can actually rotate. I mean, how strong the updrafts can be. But that's definitely some. Let me see something real quick. Let's see how tall this storm is. Oh, as a matter of fact, let me do this. Holy cow, Jeepers Batman. Absolutely. Let's see. Because I have access to this. Let me pull up Franklin County EMA. Let's look at this right now, see what's going on. Probably not going to be able to see much, but I'm going to pop this out. There you go. Something you don't get everywhere. This is why we need cameras, guys. I've talked to several, even people that are here. Yeah, locations in the path. You're looking at, let me see if I can pull this over. I'll pull this a little bit. It's really nothing it's really seeing right now. But locations in the path would be right. Well, it didn't do what I needed it to do. Let's try it again. Wham. It's really the only thing that it's picking up as far as like people would be Coptown at 8:32, and that's going to update itself. Actually, these things do update itself in time. So actually, let me go ahead since it just did a new scan. I'll refresh it. All right, and so really, it's in this mountainous region. Really, toward the tail end, there may be some houses just south of Three Forks. Um, I know there's a couple of houses over here on uh, State Route 16. Not a ton of them though. As you're going down to Alabama, that would be that main road right there. The Key Springs is right up here. So that's really it. I mean, if I actually, this is my list. That's literally what it gives me. It gives me Lakeview, which is right there. It's about it. So the good thing is this is in a fairly non-populated region, right? And so that's the blessing of all this. And I'm gonna go ahead and look up here for just a minute and see what I can gather from this one. Let me turn this off. I will leave Franklin County up for just a minute. I'll make him a little smaller. Not really anything that they're saying. You can see a thunderclap every once in a while. And what I want to see is I want to see. Yep, that's what I want to see. I want to see the train. Okay. So what I want to do is I don't think that's east. I think that's more this general direction. That's what I think that's more of. No location impacts. Oh, I guess it would help if I turned it on, didn't I? Let's zoom in here. There we go. And so this particular one, if it were to stay together, okay, you got to keep in mind of something. We've got warnings out until about 8:45 or so. I need to change this over to 30 miles an hour. All right. So you really got Fayetteville about 8:43. And then this is going to kind of go up the Highway 50 like we're headed toward Lynchburg. This may just stay just south of the city, but I know my people in Loyce. It's about 908, Herdlow, 909, Liberty Hill, right there in very extreme southern Moore County. You're looking at 908. And then if it were to stay together, then we would maybe look at some of these areas right there. So don't get too wrapped up in the fact that it's going to hit you Center Grove at 926. That's a big cone of uncertainty right there, and that happens the farther you get out. So that being said, it looks like right now what we'll just have to see is it's still got some returns of some hail sitting there, and so that would be the main threat. And so there you go. I will see if I can do this too, which is pretty cool. We got some new tools and things that have been updated. So this would give you an idea of when those targets would um a specific city. So Lois, I'm still looking Lois at 909, and then Liberty Hill at 909. And then when you get into the Let's See Crossroads and Beach Hill, that gets more into our viewing area, but we'll just have to wait and see. Oh no, no big deal. I'm glad. Well, that's kind of the good thing is I think a lot of my viewing area is, I mean, being honest, most of my people are more this way and up, but I want to make sure, and that was something I was talking to a buddy of mine. I had the opportunity to meet up with talk to some people from the National Weather Service over the weekend. Got to talk to some people from TEMA about some things that are going to be coming down the pike. And when you start covering a severe thunderstorm warning, it's like once you do one, you got to do them all. And me being a very small operation, and this is my side gig, I try to get on here when I can. It took me a couple of minutes of running around. I left one of my monitors, which is an iPad. I use it as a third monitor. It was in my car. I had to go run and go get it. But that's just the fun of it. You're like, crap, crap, crap. I got to go get this stuff. Hurry. The good thing was it wasn't even in our area just yet. Okay, as this thing's getting closer to the radar site, you're noticing that a lot of this is going away. Don't let your guard down on some of that hail that almost all of a sudden it's gone away. It's just getting really close to the radar site. So the radar, let me do this. Let me see if I can turn the tilt. I need to turn the elevation. Um, and if I do that, we still may see it. Oh, it may take a while to get that. Tilt 4. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get that just yet. And so it's getting really close to that radar site. So any of that stuff that may be hail at the top of the cloud that's getting ready to fall that it's picking up on, the beam actually may be shooting underneath that target. So again, just because you don't see the blue all of a sudden doesn't mean anything. But again, I'm telling you, very not populated areas. So this would be everything would be south of the main points of if I'm thinking Franklin, I'm thinking Estill, Deckard, Winchester, Cowan, Huntland. Those are the bigger cities, I suppose. And none of that's near any of you guys. That's way to the south. Fayetteville's fixing to get smacked with that storm. And I'm looking to see if there's any hail reports from anybody. I don't really see anything as of right now. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the surface front. I don't want to see that anymore. We already know where it's at. It's less on the screen is better sometimes. I'll go back here and check this out. Yeah, there's a couple people looking at it. Can I make that bigger? Nope. Let me do this. Let me close that out. Pop out the window. Perfect. Just kind of see from Franklin County EMA if you're going to be able to get a good look at that. I don't even think they've got it pointed in that direction, to be quite honest with you, because I do know that this camera is a 360 degree pan and tilt. And you guys, all of 20 of you guys that are watching me, 3 of you are on. I got some folks on YouTube right now. Got a question for you guys. Just gonna throw this out here. What do you think having more cameras like this would do for coverage for severe weather? Just curious what you guys would think. And these are cameras that are above tree lines that you're kind of able to see. You can kind of see it a little bit off in the distance. And I think that's pointed, it may be pointed this direction. So you may be catching the corner of that. What do you think that would do for coverage around here if we could get some of those? Because right now, the only cameras that really exist that give you anything like that is going to be here. I don't have, I don't really have access to the UTSI. I can show it, but it's pointed straight out at woods. It's all it is. But I would love to see the day where we could have several of these cameras in and around the area being able to look over things. And it's one thing, 80% of tornado warnings, 75 to 80% of tornado warnings never are confirmed, which means that the storm rotates, it's on radar, but it never touches down. And I know a lot of times, if we're not careful, we end up getting that false sense of security. And then you have one where it actually pops off a tornado. But if you had cameras looking at it, then you would be able to go, okay, yeah, you got to take the warning. That's a real one on the ground. And I would like to see that. They just extended the severe thunderstorm warning. I think you noticed it there. So this is going to go up parts of Cowan and Swanee. So, like I told you guys, these things are not necessarily not necessarily hurting for strength right now, just because they're in that environment. So, I got to take something real quick. I'll be right back. I'm going to mute everything and just kind of keep it here for you to see, and I'll be back in just a second. Hello. All right, so you're like, "Whoa, he's all of a sudden back." All the two of you that are watching. I was just there. It was just more of a monitoring mode, and I had to take an important phone call. When family's sick, that's what you got to take care of. You got to take care of family, right? And long story short, it looks like this storm that was over here that prompted that warning is just has fallen apart. It's just it's lost all of its intensity. It's kind of done that thing where this over here, though, on the other hand, is kept really, really strong. So I'll go back here so I can show you one. Yes, thank you guys. I know it's been a lot tuning in here. I've been live for an hour and 20 minutes. Of course, part of that was just kind of monitoring. There wasn't anything I needed to say, and I'd rather not talk to you for an hour straight. Um, I think you'd probably get tired of that. Anyway, so looks like this severe threat is over. Looking at real quick, just kind of before we get off of here, we'll take a second and I'll look at SPC. Marginal risk is still there. Those storms, like I said, are going to be right off to the south of us. And you can look right here as I go back to the screen. Let me show you. Want to be one of those big people with big words that, oh, you're gonna get really hurt because of what's happening. So, anyways, I'm gonna get off of here. I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, I am Christopher Kingweather, and I'm keeping you advised.